Hi, I'm Chris Shondell with Young Audiences in New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania, and I'm presenting a three-part video series on using OBS for live streaming. This is part 3, which covers audio settings and options. Be sure to watch part 1, which covers OBS basic settings, adding scenes and sources, and part 2, which covers camera settings and options. Let's get started with OBS Audio. Alright, so we're going to start by looking at the general settings for OBS's audio settings, which are in the settings menu under the file menu. So if we click on file and we go to settings and we go into the audio settings on the left sidebar, the first thing I recommend is turning off all of the global audio devices. And primarily the reason for that is because if you select, say for instance, your mic and you make this the default mic, and you choose your webcam mic or an interface mic, it's going to put that audio source into every scene, and you may not want it in every scene. And in which case you might, think that the only way to turn the mic on and off is to mute it manually or turn it off manually, and then you might forget to turn it back on again. So my advice is basically just start with all of this stuff off. So just go into these, and if there's something set to default, change it to disabled. That's a good place to start. So once you do all that, you can pretty much leave all the other settings alone. There's not a lot more you need to change here. You want the sampling rate at 48 kilohertz, channels stereo left and right. Pretty much everything else just leave as it is and click OK. Then what we're going to do is now we're going to look at the scenes and adding the audio source into the scene that you need. So let's just say, for instance, I'm going to get rid of this webcam in here in the first scene. So now we don't have any sources at all, and we also don't have any audio showing here. So think of it like this. I want to set up an opening slide, and I just want to have a picture up that says pre-show or something, and I want it to start playing before the show goes live at whatever time that's supposed to be. So you don't want to have any additional microphone connected to that in the background, so that you're going about your business, you've got your microphone on, you're walking around, you're drinking your coffee, you're answering the door, you're talking to your significant other. You don't want any of that audio playing in that scene. So basically you don't have any audio added to this as a source in the opening. So now if I get to scene 1, I'm going to click on that. Now you can see I have the webcam and I have a webcam mic. So I had to add those in separately, because if you add the webcam, even though it shows this as an audio source, it actually doesn't do anything. Don't ask me why. It might be a glitch. I'm not sure. But in order to add the webcam mic in, you basically have to add it as an audio source, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to remove this now, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to select an audio input capture from a list of devices or sources, and in this case I'm just going to call it the webcam mic. Okay, and then we're going to add it, and in this particular case, I just have 2 microphones available. I have the microphone built into the webcam, and I have the microphone, which is the lavalier I have on me right now, which is connected to the Scarlett Solo interface. So I'm going to choose the webcam, and I'm going to click OK. So you can see right away that this is bumping, and that's showing me that the microphone that's built into the webcam here is picking up the audio. So that's exactly what you want to do. You just want to add the microphone source to the scene, that whatever that microphone is that you need in that particular scene, that's what you're going to add. So I'm going to go to the second scene, and in this case I have this Sennheiser lavalier, which is this microphone right here. So it's allowing me to select a different audio source completely from the webcam. So I can do audio source from a microphone, one type of microphone in one scene, one type of microphone in another scene. You know, you have a lot of flexibility with, or no microphone. You have a lot of flexibility with which one you want to add and which one you don't want it in a particular scene. So if you just look at it that way, that you could just add those audio sources in when you need them. That way you don't have to worry about turning a microphone on and off when you have to switch to something back and forth between scenes. And that way you can go to a placeholder with no audio playing, which cuts off your mic immediately, and you don't have to worry about, you know, something getting broadcast that you don't want someone to hear. That just gives you kind of some control over the way the audio is getting streamed. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to touch on is adding a video source to one of your scenes, like you want to play a video with sound, music, or something. That's part of the video. So I'm going to go ahead and add a scene right here, just to create a new scene. And now I have a blank source window, so I want to add a source. So I'm going to go up and choose media source, right? And now I'm going to just call this video clip. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to browse for that clip. And I'm going to choose a video. And so there's a couple settings in here. I mean, this is more video related than audio related, but I'm going to show you anyway. You have choices here with some checkboxes. Restart playback when source becomes active. What that means is basically that goes back to the beginning every time you go back to the scene. So you may want that on in the event that you have to, like, you made a mistake and you kind of skipped over it inadvertently. If you uncheck that and the video plays, when you go back to, if you have to switch back to that scene, it'll pick up where the video was paused and it'll just resume from that point. So normally I think you'd probably want to leave that alone. Essentially everything else you could leave alone. There is hardware decoding. I don't know exactly. That really is contingent on your computer, and you may want to look into whether or not you need that setting. Otherwise, I would just leave everything else the way it is and click OK. The last thing I should note is that wherever this video file lives, if you move it to some other location, it's going to break the connection between OBS and that path is going to be incorrect. So you may have to come back, if you happen to move files around, you're going to want that path to be updated. You may want to also have your files saved in a particular folder that are only related to your program, so that when you have to move something around, that everything kind of just goes along with the folder that they're in. So just kind of keeps things organized. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. So now we have the video in the output window, and as you can see, when you bring that video clip in, it's showing that there's audio playing. And I did mention this in the previous or in the first video regarding playback from like a video as an example, that you are seeing that there's audio output, but you're not hearing it because it's not being monitored. You can click on the settings button next to the audio source here and go to Advanced Audio Properties, and you would turn this to monitor and output, and when I do that, I'm suddenly going to start hearing the audio.
Okay.
So you can see that that's
the second one
playing now.
What do we listen to?
So I'm going to go ahead and switch away from that. So that's how you basically add a video source with audio into a scene. You don't have to add an additional audio source for that. It's going to pick up the audio that's in that and put it into the mixer, so you don't have to do anything special. So the next thing I want to cover is basically just why you would want to use a different microphone. You know, some people say, well, you know, the built-in mic is fine. I don't really need a good mic. It sounds fine. Who cares? Well, the audience is going to care. Like, it's not going to sound good to the audience. And so I'm just going to show you the difference between using different mics. And so I really only have two mics that I can show you. I have the built-in webcam here, and I have the wireless lav. So I'm on the wireless lav right now, and I'm just gonna, back up, walk around, you can hear me because the microphone's attached to me. You know, it's simple to understand that, right? So, and it's just a higher quality microphone. It's designed to have better dynamic range, just not be so boomy. It just generally is going to sound better. So now I'm going to switch over to the webcam mic just to show you the difference in what that sounds like. Okay, so now this is the audio getting picked up from the webcam mic. So it is completely different sounding. It's got a lot more room, like boominess. This particular mic does anyway. And this is a pretty good Logitech webcam. So, you know, it's just what you can expect from a webcam microphone. If I were to back up and, you know, walk away from the mic, you know, it's pretty clear that that's a pretty big difference. You know, you lose all of that closeness to the mic when you walk away from it. So it's just going to sound different, especially when you're doing anything that requires you to be backed up far away from the computer. You're gonna want a microphone that kind of travels with you. So that's just to show you what the differences are. You know, how dramatically different that microphone can sound. So I'm back to the lavalier mic, and as you can see, it just sounds better. So you're going to have to test your own equipment, decide what is going to work for you. And I'm strongly encouraging you to, you know, get the best mic you can afford, and, you know, for whatever purposes that you're using it for, whether it's for a workshop or for a assembly program, it really, you know, it's going to make a big difference. I also want to mention that you're not limited to any particular mic. You can, you know, there's a wide range of mics available. You can also use Bluetooth devices. The only issue with Bluetooth is that because Bluetooth, when you connect Bluetooth to a computer, that isn't of itself its own audio source. It's like you're choosing that over everything else. It's kind of an all or nothing proposition because it's got the microphone generally is built into the earbuds or whatever kind of headphones you're wearing. And it's also, you know, it's got the headset, the audio going into the headphones, so, or earbuds, depending on what they are. So if you're going to use that as your audio source, you're not going to be able to use an additional audio source easily, meaning like an audio interface that might have a guitar plugged into it or another microphone. So you really kind of have to pick and choose what it is that you're going to be using. You're going to have to test things. My suggestion is that the great part about OBS is that there's a recording feature, which is actually right here, where you can actually screen record what you're seeing in this output window and whatever audio is being captured into a video file. And by doing that, it gives you a chance to like hear what the audience is going to hear because you can play it back. So, you know, test your Bluetooth device, test your webcam audio, test your built-in or your wireless lavalier. Test all that stuff. See what works best. See how close you need to be to a mic if it's on a stand. See how far away you can get away with being from it before you start to lose audio. You know, all those things matter. And, you know, so my suggestion is just do a screen recording, test all your audio settings, and see what works out best for you. Lastly, I just want to talk about how you connect different audio devices to your computer. And there's, you know, a number of different ways to do that. Generally speaking, you're going to want to plug in something by USB, and which would convert the microphone, if it's an analog microphone, to a digital signal that gets put into the computer. So in the case of like a webcam, the webcam does that automatically. You plug in the webcam, the USB webcam, and it takes that microphone and it converts it to a digital signal. If you're going to be using a audio interface, which I'll explain a little bit about, that does the same thing, except it gives you the ability to have some control over the levels, and also you can monitor it through a set of headphones if you need to, and also you can plug in multiple instruments. So you could have like a microphone in one channel, you can have a guitar if you needed to in another channel, and you have control over the levels between those two devices. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about the Focusrite interface that I have so you can understand how it works. So this is the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. You see it's a pretty compact device. It's just a little tabletop device. There is one XLR and 1/4 inch input with separate gain controls. Phantom power for the XLR input, line level and instrument level switch, and a monitor level knob with a headphone jack. Back of the Focusrite has a USB output and line level stereo RCA outputs. This is the Sennheiser wireless mic system that I've been using, and because it has an XLR output, I'm using that to connect to the XLR input on the Focusrite USB interface. You can use any XLR microphone like a Shure SM58, for example, with an XLR cable with female and male ends to plug that microphone into an audio interface like the Focusrite. One thing you should be aware of on the Focusrite interface is that for whatever reason, the two inputs on the front, the XLR and the 1/4 inch, actually go into their own left and right channels. So the XLR goes into the left channel, the 1/4 inch goes into the right channel, and there's no way to combine them in the interface itself. So what you can do is in OBS, there's a setting in the Advanced Audio Properties that you can basically switch to mono. So it puts both instruments into left and right channels, and I'll show you how to do that. So you can actually see it here. You can see like the left channel is the only one that's bumping, the right channel isn't. So if I click on the gear and go to Advanced Audio Properties, and I just click that button right there, or check that box, I should say, where it says mono, and I click close, you'll see now that that's putting it into both channels, left and right channels, so that's good. And it'll do the same thing if you have an instrument plugged into it as well. You just check that mono box and it'll put the instrument into both channels. So that's the end of the series on OBS. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it was somewhat enjoyable, and I'm here for any support if you need help, if you have any questions. If I screwed something up, I didn't do something right, by all means, call me out. I apologize in advance. I'm doing the best I can in the circumstances, and look forward to seeing your work online. Thanks.